Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Exciting announcement for all of my listeners. I've officially opened my exclusive group, the ProjectME Passive Income Posse, to the public. This group is by application only, so we can keep the group high vibe and spend our time, energy, and expertise only helping those of you who truly want massive success and impact. You get live weekly trainings from me, special guest coaches, and direct access to me and my business partner for all of your questions. To learn more and apply, go to projectmewithtiffany.com, click on Work With Me, and select ProjectME Posse. And of course, any questions, feel free to DM me at ProjectME with Tiffany. Welcome to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and posse. I'm your host, Tiffany, and first I need to say this for this episode. This episode could be triggering for people and may not be appropriate to play in front of kids. Teenagers would be okay, but I would say younger than that, probably not, but that's to your own discretion. So you need to put like the AirPods in or something like that. And I know some of you are going, girl, none of your shit's appropriate for children. Well, that's fine. I might disagree. But yes, I understand what you're saying. It's because I am talking about today anxiety and depression and some deep stories about myself in order to teach you guys some lessons I've learned in reflection and how to manage anxiety and depression. And this is certainly not any medical advice, of course. Can you imagine me as a doctor? That would be very entertaining, though. This is not medical advice. It's simply advice from, one friend to another who's been through the ringer. And right now, there is so much stress that's been going on in the world, and that doesn't seem to let up. So even people who normally, those of you who normally don't get bouts of depression or, don't really have that much anxiety are experiencing some of these things for the first time. And that can be really scary and debilitating because it's unfamiliar and you're not used to it. And then there's those of you who are more maybe similar to me, where you've had to manage and you've struggled with bouts of anxiety, depression, or both most of your life. So it's more of a familiar feeling. It's not anything that you love, but you might have a few more tools in your tool chest to deal with it. But right now it's kind of amped up. And it's not fun. And a lot of those tools aren't available to us right now. And obviously you guys live all over the world, and every single country and city is a little different where we're at in quarantine COVID life. Where I'm at in Los Angeles, as many of you have seen in the news with California, we've greatly spiked. And so they've closed most everything down again. Not a complete shutdown, but they're saying that's coming. And so we've not really had anything. We had like a tiny taste where I think it was for a week of things being more open, but it still wasn't the same. As you guys know, it's still awkward. The masks, the social distancing, you're not connecting, you're thinking twice. And for me, a lot of the tools that I use to manage my mental health are not available to me. So you guys know I'm a gym rat. I'm the OG gym rat. I love going to yoga classes, cycle classes. I love going to the gym. I love my trainer. I love I love my gym friends, right? It gets me out of the house, the camaraderie. It feels good. I belong to really a luxurious gym. So it almost feels like a little spa retreat at the end of, my sweat sessions. And I really, really have used that my entire life. Well, I've not been a luxury gym member my entire life, but I've used the gym and that outlet as a social tool, as a mental, relief outlet, really my entire life. And also like playing sports, and it simply is not available. You can't do it. So I've since March, I've been having to work out at home, which I've never been a home workout person, but I found a way, and I just made myself, and I continue to make myself do it, because for me, movement and exercise is crucial to managing my anxiety and depression. Yes, my vanity in terms of like fitness and body and weight and all that. Yes, that's important, but really I'll go out of my damn mind if I don't work out. So I've had to do it anyway. That's not fun, right? It's not as fun for me. We can't go to church. And I know some of you listening, you can't go to church, and that's an outlet. Some of you do in-person therapy, and that's, at least where I'm at, that's not available. So it has to be virtual. It's better than nothing, but it's still not the same. I belong to a recovery program for people who, are addicted to things like, I call it the people, places, and things addiction. So like exercise, work, that kind of stuff. And I've been in that for like 5.5 years. Well, you can't do any of those in-person meetings. Those of you who are in 12-step programs, whether it's for some substance addiction, or you're in Al-Anon, or you're in some other kind of group, you can't meet in person for those either. Maybe you had like a mom squad kind of group, or you had like mommy and me things that you did that really gave you that sense of connection and really felt good to you, and those aren't available. I could go on, and it sucks that those things aren't available. Like, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat stuff for you, because that, I believe, makes people feel worse when they're like, oh my God, winning in quarantine life. Like, some people, and there's some of my clients, they are genuinely thriving in quarantine life because it didn't really change their life that much. And they prefer to have not as much social interaction. So it's kind of like was a pressure release valve for them not having to. And I know a lot of you guys listening have that too. Now, you would think I'd be like that as someone who is, introverted. But what I realized is how important quality human interaction is for me. Not quantity. That's what drains me, but that quality interaction and doing the things I like to do, like my every 2-week mani-pedis, and I get my shoulder massage. And even though it's, painful as all hell, like even going and getting my eyebrows threaded. And I love Parul, who's my eyebrow threading lady for many years. And she puts on my favorite Indian music, and we we always like dance at the end, together, and she's adorable, and I miss seeing her. It's those little things. I miss seeing people's faces, like the bottom half of their faces. And when you really think about it, most of our expression, yes, our eyes do express a lot, but most of our nonverbal expression is in that lower half of our body, or lower half of our, our lower half of our body, but lower half of our face. So when that's being covered up by a mask, it can make us feel more alone and more isolated, even if we're around people. So I needed to say this off the bat, so that if you guys are feeling any of these which ways, know that you're not alone, and know it would be almost weird if you didn't have any kind of anxiety or depression that can come up. I mean, you're also grieving the loss of not being able to take the trips you want. Maybe you're someone who has a business, or is an entrepreneur who does retreats or in-person events, and that's what you love to do. Or maybe you had tickets to in-person events or concerts or sporting things that you're really looking forward to, and those are canceled. Or your kids' graduations, or family reunions, or birthday parties. I mean, I know some of you are relieved about some of the shit you don't have to do, and I don't blame you. But then there's other things you want. Like, you guys know, travel is a big why for me. I call it my self-indulgent why, and not in like a bad way. Like, truly, one of my whys for continuing to work on the days I don't want to, when I don't feel like promoting something or launching or whatever, to crank in that cash is because I love luxury travel and it's something that keeps me going. And I go somewhere generally every month or every 5 weeks. And I particularly love traveling outside the country, outside the US, because I love the perspective I get. I get so much inspiration. I love meeting people from all different cultures all over the world. It really excites me. It lights me up. And having that taken away and really nothing I can do about it and not seeing an end in sight yet, that doesn't feel good. Every single year for sure on, over my birthday, I have like a bigger trip planned, right? It's something more elaborate. It's longer, like I'm in Santorini, Greece, or I'm in Amsterdam, or I'm somewhere where it's very luxurious. It's, longer, more extensive trip. And I get really excited about it. And I was kind of trying to focus on that about a month ago, since I couldn't really focus on short-term trips because that, wasn't available. And now we're in, what are we in? Now we're in July, and it's like, this shit might not be ready for September. I mean, I certainly wouldn't go online and purchase a plane ticket now. I guess I could get some kind of, trip insurance. I haven't looked on it, but I wouldn't really be able to get in the feeling of being excited about it, which is part of why we plan all different things for ourselves, travel, parties, buy concert tickets. It's the anticipation and the excitement out of it. And we don't have that. And it doesn't feel good. And so we have to replace that stuff. We have to replace that with something else. We can't just sit in the void of it. We can't just sit and complain about it. We can't just sit and wish it was different. Yes, that's normal to do it for a little while, but you keep sitting there and spinning about it. You're gonna go down that rabbit hole of anxiety, depression, or both. And I end up getting both. I call it wired tired, and it's the absolute worst combination in my opinion, because now you get both. Your energy is drained, you're unmotivated, yet your mind is out of control and won't stop spinning. How many of you can relate to that? Yeah, wired tired, not a fan of that. So that's why I want to share how I help manage it. That doesn't mean sometimes it doesn't get the best of me, right? I mean, we're human. Sometimes it's going to overcome us. But I have some really, good tools. And one of them is, when something is taken away or there's something that's out of our control, there's something we can't do, we need to replace it with something. So using myself as an example, using the gym, right? Going to yoga classes, going, having the camaraderie, all that stuff. Okay, there's nothing I can do. I can't go do that. Period. End of story. So I want you to switch and go, okay, what can I do? Let's get creative. What can I do instead? It might not feel as good because this is my jam, but who knows? You might end up liking it more. We don't know. So don't attach an assumption to it, right? I did that in the beginning. I was like, I'm going to freaking hate this. This sucks. I'm going to do it anyway. You guys heard me bitch about it, right? And it took me some time because I'm a stubborn pain in the ass, Virgo. But I've found a way. How can I find a way to enjoy this? What else can I do? It might not be the same, but now it's time to try something new. So I tried all sorts of different online workouts. Some of them I was like, this sucks. I'm not doing this. Then I try something else and not into it. And then I found kind of a groove. I found that doing yoga from home is actually something that genuinely does feel good to me. Ideally, do I love being in the collective energy of a class with a great instructor? I miss my favorite yoga instructors. Yes, that I would like that even more. But there are some really cool things I like about doing it at home. I don't ever really look at the instructor because I've been practicing yoga so many years. So I might not be able to say all the postures, but I know what they mean. So I have my eyes closed anyway. You're supposed to be focusing on yourself anyway. So I found it didn't feel as awkward for me to do yoga at home. And in fact, there was a different level of peace about it. And when I was in Shavasana, it was actually, I could go deeper because people weren't getting up and putting their mats away and stuff like that. So there are nuances about it I like better. So as an example, right? So if it for you is, if your thing, let's go with something that's a little harder to replicate, right? Like the whole thing of travel, because I know a lot of you love to travel on whatever level it is. I know that's like something that you guys really, really look forward to. And it's like, okay, so what can I do? What can I do that's exciting, that's big, to look forward to? What can I do instead? And that's why you heard me go, get in the car and drive to Arizona, right? Like do something different. And here I was like, I started out by saying, I freaking hate long drives. I'm not a road trip person, blah, blah, blah. I actually ended up really getting a lot out of the drive, and it wasn't so bad. And I, in fact, found some enjoyment and had a lot of like really interesting conversations with myself, quite frankly, because I couldn't be distracted by work, my phone calls, meetings, TV, laundry, etc. It's just me and the road, and yeah, music, podcasts and stuff like that. But it was actually pretty cool. So I got to learn something about myself and try something new. And that felt really empowering. And I was proud of myself, et cetera, et cetera. So what's something else you can try and experiment with? You don't know. You might like it better. It might feel good just to try something different. Maybe there's some kind of hobby that you've maybe had some interest in, but you've never done. And it's something you could do right now. So I don't want you having a bunch of empty space from the things that you really love doing. I want you to fill that space with something else. I'm finding myself spending a lot more time outside in nature, talking to my plants, naming my plants, just sitting on the ground, staring at them. I didn't do this. I did talk to my plants and say hi and stuff like that pre-quarantine, but not this in depth. And I really, really enjoy that. So there's something else that's new. So I want you guys to look at, well, what can I do? What can I experiment with? What's something that, I could possibly try? If you don't like it, then you can stop and then try something else. You should have seen how many different things that I tried, especially when it came to the, gym stuff. I tried a lot of different things, and now I've found my groove. And also I'm willing to try. Now I've worked that muscle of trying new things, that now I don't have as much resistance to trying new things because I've done it now, and it's not so bad and it's not so scary. And if I don't like it, oh well, I'll do something else. I used to be really resistant to trying new things because I didn't want to waste my time. I was like, I don't want to waste my time. I don't think I'd like it. Well, you know what? It's not that much time you're going to waste if you don't like it. You can move on. Here's the other thing that is even more important. I just wanted to give you that tangible exercise first, is the reason why I almost died twice is because of this one thing. And those of you who've, are diligent listeners, love you guys, and who know more of my story, I went to take my life almost 6 years ago on my birthday. I was done. I was done with how exhausting it felt to be alive, to be in this world, what it took. I'm like, if this is what it takes, and then there's only these tiny glimpses of happiness, this isn't a fair trade, and I can't do it anymore. I had all the pills lined up. I had access to all the proper pills and knowledge because all of my experience in the pharmaceutical industry. And I was ready to take myself out. And then the other time was just a few years later in 2017, where I was in a major health crisis, and I went to doctor after doctor. No one could figure out what was wrong with me. Two of them were very confident that it was in my head. They even sent me to a psychiatrist. And then I started believing it was in my head. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm way more messed up than I already thought I was to begin with. I'm like, I didn't know I was this messed up. Like, now I'm making up an illness. My body had me held hostage. I could not get off the couch. If I drove myself to a doctor's appointment, I'd have to recuperate the rest of the day. I had to pause or terminate contracts with tons and tons of corporate clients. I had not started ProjectME yet, thank God, because I couldn't handle the workload. I had to let people go who worked for me. I couldn't go to the grocery store. I couldn't work out. So I lost a lot of my outlets, that I had to manage my mental health. And I was couch bound, and I felt like I was a prisoner of my own body. And then the weight just kept coming on. And it didn't matter. I was like, I'm not going to eat sugar. I'm not going to eat carbs. It didn't matter. It kept coming on. And I felt like I was 85 years old, and I was terrified. And I was like, I was praying. I'd get on my knees. I said, God, you can take all my money. I don't care. I please help me get answers for my health. Please help my health. And the answers never came. So I was like, God isn't listening, and maybe this is it. I'm dying. This is it. And I'm not saying this like being dramatic. I mean, really, I was like, okay, I'm dying. Like, I'm dying. And what's different is, I wasn't trying to even take my own life. I actually wanted to live now because I had gone into recovery and been doing some really, deep healing work. Like, I knew I was worth surviving and living. I knew I was meant for more. And it was like, I was pissed because it's like, well, now I have self-worth and I want to live, and now I'm dying. What the hell? Right? And when I reflect back, and I didn't realize this until recently, it's like they say hindsight's 20/20, right? We can look back and notice things, but we can't see it in the moment. But recently I realized, what was common with both of those things were my two rock bottoms. They all stemmed from my beliefs. My beliefs are what got me to those points both times. And I'm not saying that to put myself down or place all this blame on myself or any of you who are relating to this story. It's conditioning. It's our subconscious beliefs. It's stuff we pick up from childhood. We pick up along the way, and then we hold on to it. And I had beliefs that I wasn't special. Even though, in 2017, I had a lot more self-worth. I didn't have yet self-love. I did like myself, and I had more respect for myself, but I certainly wasn't at a point where I thought I was special or unique, right? So I had a belief I wasn't special. I had a belief I didn't have a greater purpose. I mean, even in 2017, I wouldn't go as far as saying I had a greater purpose. I knew I deserved to be alive. If you guys can see what the difference is, that's a pretty big difference. It's better than where I was, but I didn't believe I had a greater purpose. I had a belief I wasn't enough to have the love, sex. Ooh, that was an interesting slip for those of you who know me. My belief was that I wasn't enough to have the love, success, and joy that I so badly wanted that I saw that other people had. I thought like something in me was broken. There was something about me that must not have like deserved it, or it wasn't, who knows, because why don't I have it? And I had the belief that, some people are just lucky in life. Other people get the shit end of the stick. And I just thought I got the shit end of the stick. And my other belief was like, my life wasn't really worth like fighting for, like fighting to a certain point, but not willing to do anything for it. And I hope you guys see those nuances, because those nuances are pretty profound. And I hadn't, had the time, done enough work yet, healing work, to change those beliefs. And when you really look at your beliefs, right, what happens is whatever it is we believe, naturally, subconsciously and consciously, our minds are constantly seeking for evidence to support and validate those beliefs. all the time. You know, I've given in other episodes an exercise. If I say, what do you believe is the most popular color of a car, you know, in your area, your country, your state, whatever. And let's just say like mine is like, I'll say mine's white. I mean, I'm sure I could Google it, but I mean, I don't know that to be a fact, but I'm saying I believe it's white. So I have that belief and I repeat it a few times to myself, maybe other people. And it's like, yeah, I mean, white's the most popular car color. Guaranteed when you're out driving around, you're going to see, yep, there's another white car. See? Oh, there's another one. Yep. White is the most popular car color. I mean, you can try that exercise on yourself. That's exactly what ends up happening. You might even see like 5 white cars in a row on the freeway or something like that. So we end up seeking evidence for what we believe, whether those beliefs are fact or fiction. It doesn't matter. A belief is what we believe to be true. So it doesn't matter if we have supporting evidence. And then on top of it, we end up manifesting them into our lives on repeat. We end up then energetically calling in stuff. So I used to have a belief that in order to be successful, you had to work your ass off. You had to work your ass off to the bone. And especially if you're a woman in the business world, you have to work your butt off triple. I really had that belief. So most of my life and my career, which is part of how I got sick and my adrenals shut down to where I had to take like supplemental cortisol. And those of you who are medical professionals, healthcare providers who listen, know that without cortisol, you will die. You'll go into cardiac arrest. Like you have to wear a bracelet. Like it is imperative for survival. And I had literally like the doctor who finally tested that shit was like, I can't even believe you're here and you're not in the hospital. My levels were that low. So I had the little thing I had to put in my wallet, you know, as far as like, if I collapsed somewhere, I had to have the rescue medication in my purse and I had to take supplements. And I'm on a very, very low dose now. But I mean, it takes time to regulate that. But part of what led to that health crisis was my extreme behavior based on my belief that you have to work your butt off to the bone in order to have success. If you're a woman, you have to do it triple. And I would not only say that, I was convinced of it. And therefore, I manifested it and I worked to that level. And then and I would even say things like, you have to damn near kill yourself to have this kind of success. Well, look what I did. I damn near almost killed myself subconsciously by working 12 hours a day, oftentimes 7 days a week, traveling every single week, nonstop. And then on top of it, I applied that when it came to fitness. 2 a days, 4 hours a day, more is better, cutting carbs, doing this, full on exercise addiction. And then that also contributed to completely burning out my adrenals and stressing out my entire system. Damn near killed myself doing that. So that's how our beliefs dictate our behaviors. And I, again, don't want you guys to beat yourselves up over it because it's most of it's subconscious. Sometimes we can go, I mean, listen, I'd be lying if I didn't say like, there were times where I was like, in order for me to go back to the gym for the second time in a day, I was like, I had to take some kind of an energy shot or, you know, some kind of adrenaline boosting thing. And I was like dragging ass to go. And I was like, I remember having thoughts like, girl, this probably isn't healthy. And then I'd do it anyway. Because my belief was so strong that that's what I had to do. And this is just how it was. And so think of some of these beliefs. I said, I'm not that special. I don't have a greater purpose. You know, some other people are born where it's very obvious they have a grand purpose in life, like someone like Oprah or something like that, Brene Brown, but not me. So even a belief like that, if I don't believe I'm here for a greater purpose, then what the fuck am I doing here? What am I here for then? That I felt unfulfilled. So feeling unfulfilled leads to depression. Feeling unfulfilled leads to low self-worth, low self-esteem. And then when you're in low self-worth, low self-esteem, unfulfilled, you end up attracting low vibe people in your life. Toxic relationships, toxic friends. You do a lot of behaviors that aren't healthy because why bother? I'm not meant for something more, something special. And that all led to that deep spiral of depression and the wired tired to where I was done and exhausted and wanted to off myself. So that's how our beliefs end up creating our reality. The good news is our beliefs can create our reality. Like that's the bad and the good news, right? Our beliefs create our reality. So we have to change our beliefs. And then people are like, oh, well, I think I've heard that before, and it sounds simple. It sounds simple, but it's not. And you're right. It is simple, and it takes work. And I always tell you guys what the catch is, and the catch to identifying this toxic belief loop, as I call it, and how to help exit this pattern, like do a pattern disruption. Is it takes diligence, mental diligence. You have to obviously be willing. You have to let go of this emotional connection you have to this belief, because a lot of times there's a payoff for us having these beliefs. Even if you're like, what could be the payoff, Tiffany, of believing that you weren't that special, right? What could be the payoff? That sounds like a horrible thing to think. What could be the payoff for that, right? Well, the payoff could just be it was a familiar feeling, right? It's a comfortable, familiar feeling. And also, let's be blunt, the payoff for me thinking that is I didn't need to do any deeper work or go after anything scary or extraordinary. I didn't even have to try because I wasn't meant for something special anyway. I didn't really have to go all in on anything, go all in on my dreams, go after anything, any of it, because I wasn't meant for it anyway. That's a payoff. So there's payoffs in like staying safe, right? What is the payoff of believing that I wasn't enough to have the love, success, and joy I so badly wanted? It's a victim-y kind of thing, right? It's like, yeah, it doesn't seem like there would be a payoff, but the payoff is like, then you also never have to take the risk of going after it. There's a payoff of just kind of like being in that familiar feeling of almost like that victim-y vibe. And it might not feel good, but it's just comfortable, right? So it doesn't have to be some profound payoff. Some of them are more subtle. So you have to be willing to let go of those things. And that can feel really weird and uncomfortable. And it can make you feel raw and vulnerable. Like it made me feel like I was walking around with my skin off. That's how I describe it to people. So first you need to identify this toxic belief loop. So I want you to write down, like, what are these beliefs you're currently carrying? No one has to see it. No one knew, by the way. I don't think I shared with anybody those beliefs. Maybe a therapist, but maybe even not. Of the beliefs I shared with you guys today. Those beliefs are because there's some shame around believing those things because that's not very attractive and it's not high vibe and there's some shame around having those beliefs, but I still need you to write those down. No one has to see them because we gotta start somewhere. So identifying what those core beliefs are that circle around, and you can look at it like, here's how you can get to them if you're having a hard time identifying. If there's something you genuinely know you want to do, or you're scrolling online and you're like, God, that'd be so cool. I would love to do that. I'd love to get paid to travel. I'd love to write a book. I'd love to have a podcast. I'd love to make an ass out of myself like Tiffany does and get paid for it. I'd love to inspire and help people. What comes up after the but? There's a but that comes up in your head. But I could never do that. I'm not confident enough. but I could never do that. That's just not my thing. And you need to start digging in yourself with that. Well, why isn't it your thing? Well, I don't know. I just wasn't like made that way. I mean, no one wants to hear from me. Why do you think no one wants to hear from you? Well, I'm not that special. You see what I mean? So you got to dig at yourself. Don't accept a surface answer of I'm just not confident or I'm shy. You've got to dig much deeper. And usually what's under it is I'm not enough. I'm not special. I don't like myself. Things like no one cares about me. Like, I mean, the things that you've gotten it when they're really stripped down and raw like that. And they're almost like, oof, that's really ugly, right? Because these are ugly lies. You got to get to the ugly lies for this to work. And then what I want you to do when you're looking at those, I need you to challenge those beliefs. And I don't mean it in like a combative way, but like, where did I pick up this belief? Let's take a look at it. Like, where did I pick up this belief that I had no greater purpose, like no special great purpose in life? Is this in a book somewhere? Is this on like Wikipedia? Did someone actually say that to me? I mean, some of these things, some abusive people in your life may have said it to you. No one said it to me, but I had a lot of abuse in my childhood, and there can be passive aggressive things or actions done that lead you to start feeling like this. But really, no one actually said this to me, that I had no, greater special purpose. I believe some other people really do, but I just wasn't given one. Like God forgot about me. I need you to look at those. Like, where is the truth in this? Like, where are the facts in this? And you're not going to find some facts in this. You might find some failures you've had, some mistakes, some times where you flopped on your ass and made a jerk of yourself or whatever with some of your beliefs. But everyone has. So ultimately, there's not facts. So you're going to go through these things. When I go through all these things, like my belief I wasn't enough to have the love, success, and joy I so badly wanted. Well, you know what? You know how I like slipped and I had sex in there? Let's throw sex in there. I believe I wasn't enough to the love, passion, sex, success, and joy I so badly wanted. I really believe that to be true. Did someone hand me a piece of paper and tell me that? Did I read that somewhere? No, but I did believe it. I believe the reason I didn't have it and other people did is there must be something wrong with me. But is that true? Is there something wrong with me? And then I would have gone deeper. Well, yeah, I'm on medication for depression, and I was severely abused for 10 years. So, I am kind of damaged goods, and I can get really depressed, and who wants to be around someone like that? But then come back to the facts. Does that mean that you are not enough to have it? Because go look at other people in your life. Go look at people online who have it. You believe they're enough. So what makes you two so different? So I need you to start challenging these beliefs. And then I want you to write down what could be true. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass and write, you need to write the opposite now, because I don't think your brain will necessarily believe that. I want you to write down, well, what could also be true? And it has to be in the positive. Don't say, oh, it could also be true that I'm a good for nothing, No, what could also be true? Because you're pointing out all the negative that's true. So it's only fair and reasonable, fair balance, as they say in journalism, to point out, okay, what could also be true on the other side of the equation, right? You've got the minus side of the equation. It's only fair to do the plus. So you might not believe it yet. You might not believe it at all. You might not ever believe it. But let's just write down what could also be true. So my belief I wasn't special, what could also be true? I understand. I'm like talking to my ego here. I understand you believe that, you weren't that special. But in fair balance, right? In all fairness, what could also be true? Well, it could also be true that I might not feel that special, but it could also be true that I'm just as special and deserving as anybody else. Let me give another example. My belief I had of I wasn't enough to have the love, passion, sex, success, and joy I so badly wanted. Okay, so what could also be true? It could also be true that, I'm just enough as I am. I'm good enough just as I am to have all these things. I've just not had them because I've not believed I was enough. Fair. Do you guys see what I'm doing here? How about, let's do one more. My belief I had that some people are just lucky in life and others just get the shit end of the stick. Okay. What could also be true here in all fairness? It could also be true. It could also be true that life is both good and bad, and there's the law of polarity. And there's crappy things that happen and great things that happen. And maybe just the beginning part of my life had a lot of crappy things. And there's only good to come now. That could also be true. Do you see what I mean? So now you did a pattern interrupt on this toxic belief loop because your mind's going, yeah, that could also be true. And then the next step I'd want you to do is, because again, in all fairness, you've spent all this time holding on to the negative side of the beliefs and therefore manifesting, calling them in your life and seeking evidence and validation for those negative beliefs out in the world. So now you have to do that with the positive side if you're just going to be fair and reasonable. Okay, so now you have to seek evidence that, no, I have, perhaps I do have a much greater purpose in life. I just need some help uncovering it and discovering it. And I don't know how to access that within myself. So now we need to seek evidence of it. Start Googling stuff start Googling, how do I find my purpose? Maybe go buy books on finding your purpose, right? And start seeking evidence about this belief that could be true and start spending more time in that zone. I'm not saying that other shit's not going to pop up, but you've got to at least balance this equation. You owe it to yourself. Again, the catch is this takes mental discipline and energy, but it works or I wouldn't be sharing it. Otherwise, you're going to just stay sitting where you're at, and that's really not working for you, is it? You're not really liking it. So if you're not liking where you're at in a certain area of your life, or in all areas like I used to be, then you're not liking it enough to be willing to try something different that, yes, is going to feel like some mental aerobics for a while, but you're hearing it from someone who almost died twice from her beliefs telling you, this is what has now not only saved my life, but why I thrive. That doesn't mean every day is, Bali and butterflies over here. And certainly not. But my self-worth, my life, my joy, my serenity, my inner peace, my groundedness, my financial life, this is far leaps, thousands and thousands and thousands of percentages better than where I once was. I'll never go back to where I was before. And this is truly what I did. I didn't realize I did this until it came to me, during, quite frankly, quarantine life, because I've had some more time to reflect because there's been less distractions, and realized what I did. And that's why I'm sharing it with you. So I really hope that you guys take time to do this exercise. If you love this episode, and you love the podcast in general, all I ask in terms of gratitude for this amazing free resource and all the work, time, money, and energy myself and my team put into producing this show for you guys is go leave a 5-star iTunes review. Yes, it needs to be on iTunes. If you don't know how to do it, Google it, and the 5-step process will come up right away. It takes 90 seconds. In turn, to show my appreciation, I will treat you to a coffee drink of your choice or a smoothie. So there's a beautiful exchange of energy there. And I would really appreciate you guys doing it. That's what helps the show grow and thrive. Also, me reading those reviews keeps me going and my heart full and showing up even on the days that I don't want to. And if this show really helps you, I would really appreciate you doing that instead of like putting it off and I'll do it later. And then you don't do it later when it takes 90 seconds. Like show that gratitude, because let me tell you, it'll come back and someone will show their gratitude for you. And it feels really, really good. Also, if you're not already in my secret posse, this is my email list. It's free. So don't confuse it with my group coaching membership, the ProjectME posse. My secret posse is my email list where once a week, I send you, first of all, they're funny as hell, my emails. And secondly, there's mindset exercises, millionaire mindset exercises, really good, quick, actionable nuggets, mantras, perspectives, little mindset tweaks that you can do right away that is going to make your day better, make your life better, make your manifesting ignite. And all you need to do is go to projectmewithtiffany.com/secret posse, projectmewithtiffany.com/secret posse. And people are loving these. You can't get this content anywhere else. On top of it, when I offer new programs, courses, this money mindset cool workbook that I'm working on, as long as you're in that secret posse email list, you're going to get first access to the free bonuses, early bird pricing, etc. And you have to be on that list to get it. You won't be able to get that anywhere else. So go to projectmewithtiffany.com/secret posse. Excited to see you in there. And as always, wishing you guys great health, wealth, and worth. Love you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.